Okay, we'll give it about 30 more seconds, let everybody get back from the breakout rooms, and then we'll get started with our Q&A. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some interesting discussions in your breakout rooms and got to meet some interesting people. So we're going to get started with our panelists this afternoon. So Sharon Colonna, founder of Avocado Leaf Tea, and Sarah Schlafly, founder of the Mighty Cricket, are with us today. And I think Maggie's going to start us off with some questions.
Yeah, thank you again, Sarah and Sharon, for being with us. And I guess, just because we kind of just want to hear about your journey. And I think a good way to start would be just explaining what is your product and, maybe because we're doing health and wellness, what are some of its health and wellness benefits?
Well, I will start off. My name is Sharon Colonna. I'm with Avocado Tea Company, founder of Avocado Leaf Tea. The health benefits are it's very high in antioxidants, and it has healthy terpenes and glycosides and everything that's good. I sent the leaf off for analysis just to find out what I was drinking, because I had been pulling leaves off of my tree and boiling them based on some internet searches that I had done, that it was super healthy, and everything came back. Things that I didn't even know existed came back, and every time I checked it, it was super. It was really, really good for your body and your system. So then I decided to found the tea company.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, Sarah, if you want to go next. Obviously, there's only two of you. I don't have to intermediate between each one, but thought maybe I'll do the first question.
Sounds good. So I founded Mighty Cricket in 2018, and I was looking for a clean protein supply that checked all the boxes that I was looking for. So one of them was it has some nutrients that are hard to come by in plant-based proteins. Vitamin B12 is one of them, omega-3s in the bioavailable form, and some other bioavailable nutrients that in plant form you can't get. So I was looking for this bridge. I wanted a protein that also could be highly equitable. Free range chickens, grass-fed beef is never going to get there because of the amount of resources it takes. It's always going to be at a price point not available to most individuals. And then lastly, I wanted something that was sustainable and environmentally friendly, something that will be able to bridge the gap in the next 29 years when we're projected to run out of enough natural resources to feed the world's population. And in all those things, I found them in bugs. I was like, okay, well, that's disgusting. So then I went on this journey to figure out how to make bugs appetizing to the American palate. And I didn't want to eat a bug when I started, but I was just so compelled by the powerhouse of these little guys. And it's like nature's supplement, nutrition supplement. So I decided to mill them into a fine powder after lightly roasting them and cleaning them, and then blend them and detected into delicious foods, just like all the bugs we already eat and don't know about. I'm just fortifying our food with extra nutrition from this unique protein source. So that's how I got started. I have a line of oatmeals and a chocolate bar and a couple of protein powders.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I don't know if here, maybe I'll take the next one and then okay. Well, that's a great start. That's a great introduction, and I think it's maybe a good way to go into next. How did you first hear about the product that you're now selling? And yeah, why did you decide, hey, I should sell this?
Well, I started, we purchased an avocado grove in Temecula, California, and I didn't know anything about owning an avocado grove, nothing at all. And so I just started doing some research because I knew that would be speaking with our management company, and I at least wanted to have the basic knowledge of how the tree grows, um, how many we should plant, how close they should be, what kind of fertilization they should have, how much water they should get, just all the basics. And I kept coming across, and I knew that you had to, the trees grow about a year, foot a year. So there's a lot of trimming involved because you want to contain as much water and harness the energy into the fruit as opposed into the tree and the leaves. So you trim about a foot a year off of each tree to keep them energy efficient and water efficient, which is super important in California. So when I started doing the research on the leaves and getting the leaves trimmed, I kept coming across that people had boiled the leaves for centuries, Aztecs and Mayans, for medicinal purposes and to get the nutrients out of the leaves. And I had talked to one of the growth managers who's been in the business for probably 30 plus years, and he had never heard of it before. And I thought, well, maybe they don't taste so well. Maybe that's why people don't do it. You know, I have absolutely no clue. So I got some from my grove and started boiling them, and tasted really, really good. And then I just continued to do research and found out that people have studied the leaf, especially in India and China, and the medicinal benefits and the properties that they found within the leaf. One of the doctors that studied it called it the healthiest leaf in nature that he had ever seen. And from that point on, I took our leaves and had them analyzed, and then decided that nobody else was doing it and started avocado leaf tea.
What a cool story. I love that, Sharon. For me, let's see. I found out about it. Well, I've always, like, in National Geographic, you'll read articles about people in other cultures consuming bugs. So I knew it was a thing. Then I traveled to Asia and saw lots of bugs, scorpions on a stick and all that. In Mexico, bugs are really popular. And then I was watching Shark Tank like 5 years ago, and I saw this company, Chapul, pitch. And I was like, I think that is a pretty good pitch. That's a pretty good way to make something that's so horrible tasting into something that would appeal to the US market. And I think if I join in, I can scale this industry because I have a food marketing background. And if I can scale the industry, I can drive down the cost. If I can drive down the cost, all of a sudden we'll have an equitable, clean protein source to sustain the world. So that's how I got started.
That's right. And I just wanted to, that's awesome. I just want to make a comment saying that though that you both, I thought it was interesting how you both learned from, other cultures or other ancient civilizations in starting your product. So I think that's really interesting. You can learn from everywhere and take those and, make a business out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best ways to start a company is just to take something from another place and then bring it to a different location. It's so simple. But there can be a learning curve with that too. So that can be challenging. I'm curious, not to butt into your questions, but I'm really curious, Sharon, like, is there an education that you're finding you have to do with your customers? Or is it, people just look at the packaging and are like, oh, this is interesting, I'll try it.
There is an education everywhere in this business. The biggest one was for me. I've owned companies before, but never the beverage industry. And there's not a lot of tea companies in the United States. Lipton is the largest one that everybody's familiar with. They're here in the United States. And then there's some very small groves that are in the United States. But other than that, we don't have a lot of millers. We have probably 2 that I can find. a very, very small community. Everybody knows everyone. Everything has to, and because it was a new product that had never uh, been created before, I had to get the exact mill size. I had to find a milling company that could do it. I mean, it was a lot, and it continues to be an excessive amount of learning for me. My other business was a real estate company that I had for 20 years. It's kind of, cut and dry. You sell a house, there's some learning curves in there, but it's not day to day learning Amazon and how to place all your products on Amazon and creating Shopify websites. And it's been extra. And to say the learning curve with the people that are drinking our tea is primarily a lot of people just come to the conclusion that it tastes like avocados. So I have to get past that. On occasion, when they were allowing sampling pre-COVID, that was probably the first question, or people would keep walking if they were like, oh, I don't like avocados. So they wouldn't want to try the tea, and it tastes nothing like avocados. It tastes like a kind of a mix between an oolong and a green tea. So it's just a very smooth, it's a nice tasting smooth tea. There's a learning. I mean, it's not out there. So that's one of our biggest things that we have to get across to our clients is the nutritional properties of the leaf and the health benefits and the taste.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's customers will taste my product and they'll say, wow, you can't even taste the cricket. And then I say, do you know what crickets taste like? And they're like, no. But yeah, they don't want to taste the cricket. I'm like, actually, crickets taste really good. They taste like a nut.
Yeah.
I would think that would be a really hard learning curve because I don't know. I mean, that would be a hard one for me to try, but I definitely will now that you've been on here. It's going to be my next purchase just to see what it's like.
Awesome.
Imagine there's going to be a lot of people out there that are like, okay, let me eat bugs.
Yeah, it's a surprising number. When I did my research for the US market, I discovered that when trying crickets in powdered form, our survey suggests about 1 in 2 Americans are now willing to try it, which is shocking to me. I'm like 50% have some willingness to try it. Wow.
Yeah, that is really crazy, especially, yeah. I mean, yeah, you think of not a lot of, it's much more difficult to get that out there. I mean, when you think about avocados, I guess more people eat avocados, but still maybe they don't want their water or their tea tasting like avocados. I don't know. There's so many difficult things to go by here, but I think, I mean, that was great. I'm also glad, Sarah, that you jumped in with your question like that. If anybody in the audience ever has a question, they just want to jump in. Hey, also just shooting that out there, but love that. And I think Emmy has our next question.
Yeah. So we actually have a question from one of the participants. So did you have a clear focus for the business and product when you first started, and how has that vision changed along the way?
It's a great question. I can jump right in. Yeah, my vision actually my mission has been the same since I started, and I wrote it on my mirror so I could see it every day when I woke up, because it can be really challenging starting a company. And even like 3 years into it, it takes about 5 years just to really get going, just to like really feel like you're starting. So every day when I woke up, I would see the mission and it would motivate me to keep doing what I'm doing. And my mission is to build a clean protein supply to sustain the world. And I get reminders on occasion how valuable this mission is. For example, yesterday I was talking to my daughter, and she's 7, and she asked me some question about sustainability or something about the world. And I said, she asked me why it was so rainy here in Missouri. And I said, well, it's getting rainier and rainier because of climate change, because we're emitting more, carbon greenhouse gases, and it's changing the way the climate is. So in Missouri, it's going to get rainier and rainier, and we're going to be more tropical. And then we started talking about this, and I mentioned, you know, we need to eat less meat because in 29 years, we're going to run out of food to feed the world. And she's like, I'm only going to be 36 years old. And I'm like, you know, that's why I founded Mighty Cricket, Ella. Yeah, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's because when you're 36 years old, you will have food. And it comforted her. And then for me, it was just like, wow, that was a really powerful moment for me as I'm like, you know, schlepping products out the door and trying to figure out Amazon, as Sharon was talking about. And, you know, just like eyeballs deep in all this business stuff. It was a really cool moment.
I would say for me, from the beginning, I pretty much knew I wanted to do the tea just based on the health benefits. I do think that the only change that I've come across as I get into it is knowing what kind of elephant this is to eat every day. It's just there's a lot more than I would have thought, which is a little bit surprising. I thought I'm going to do this part-time. I'm still kind of retiring, and I'll do this little tea thing, and it's going to be kind of fun, and it'll be neat. And then we're in like 85 stores, all this. It's just been a little bit more than I thought it was going to be. Not that I'm not excited about it, because I definitely am, but I would say that was the only thing that has really changed is my, I don't know, just my approach at the very beginning was it was going to be a slow kind of, I'll go on vacation and sell my tea in Switzerland to some little store. Like, it was just going to be this little what have you, and that's turned into a much bigger beast than I was expecting.
Well, it's very impressive stories from the both of you, and I think, you know, both such young businesses too. It's really exciting to see, you know, how far each of you have been able to come in such a short amount of time. So our next question is actually also a question from one of the participants here today. So how did you fund your venture in the beginning and get that, you know, initial funding to take that first step?
Yeah, I bootstrapped mine. It didn't take much to build an MVP, a minimum viable product. Just, you know, purchase some oats and some flavors and start experimenting. And then I just sourced cheap bags from Amazon and did an old-fashioned sticker on a bag, hand stickering each bag just to test the market. And then once I did that, you know, I was able to get products on a few shelves and sell it, or a few products online. And I was like, okay, there's a market here. So then I reinvested that money into like packaging and ordering the minimal order quantities of everything. So paying the highest price per unit on everything. But that way, you know, I don't have to put up much money up front. And I was really glad I did that, because you learn so much from talking to customers about what they want and what they don't want. And Sharon probably experienced this too, that what you think they want is usually different than what they actually want. And what messaging resonates with your customers is different than your initial messaging that you tried out. So through this like really tedious hand stickering process, we were able to do A/B testing and then quickly tweak the packaging and not have a whole inventory of packaging, so that we can finally now, 3 years later, we're launching like a legitimate retail shelf ready packaging that is pre-printed for us. So that's, you know, a huge time off of my shoulders doing all that tedious stuff, but it enabled me to not take on investors at the beginning. And so now like my cap table is very clean for when I want to go and raise money. I own 100% of the company. So saving that raise for down the road when like the raise can just go straight into sales and marketing. Because that's kind of what investors want to see anyway in a CPG company. In a tech company, there's, it's just a different process. But yeah, bootstrapping was the way to go. Also, I had two options. I could either spend my time pitching to investors, or I can spend my time pitching to customers and learn what resonates with them. So I chose the latter because I was like, well, once I have sales, investors will be knocking on my door anyway. So it seemed a better use of my time. And then lastly, I've heard from people who have raised money, if you can do it bootstrap, do it, because then like you're not beholden to another person. You can steer the company the way you want to do it. The downside of that is I'm working with like shoestring cash flow. So yeah, definitely pros and cons. I'm really curious, Sharon, about how you did yours.
Sure. I did the same thing. I had some money set aside and went far past that amount of money that I had set aside, and we just invested some more of our personal money in. But I started a little bit larger just because I thought I pretty much I wanted to get the lower cost supplies. So my first order was 20,000 canisters, and we had them done overseas, and then we packaged them here in the United States in Philadelphia. I had them blended in Florida. So our tea leaves went round the world before that finally came back to us. We keep all of our product in St. Louis. We have a warehouse there. And I did it primarily for the same reason. I just wanted to, one, have proof of concept, two, just see what I could do on my own. And I am just now looking into bringing in an investor. And it's more primarily I still know that we've only been doing this. It will be 2 years this month that we literally started this company. So, and then we had one beautiful year of COVID that kind of, stopped a lot because large majority of our sales was based on, and especially our in-store sales was based on tastings. So any store that we got into, whether it was in California or whether it was in St. Louis, we'd hire tasters, or my husband and myself in St. Louis would stand at Straub's and, hand out samples. And that was a huge part of our marketing. It actually got us into the stores, kept us into the stores, got reorders. And then with COVID, that stopped. So I just feel like every day is still such a learning lesson. So more than anything on bringing in an investor, I'm just looking into somebody who is more familiar with distribution processes and more familiar with just different ways I can make wiser decisions with advertising and with social media and with everything. Somebody who's been in the business for a long time, because I know in 20 years, I'll probably know everything that I need to know about the tea business. I just would prefer somebody else's 20 years of experience to help me out right now. So I don't have to go back and go, yes, this is all the things I've learned over all these years. And now I know how to fine tune it. I mean, just in the last 2 years of things that I've learned, that I wish I would have just known at the very beginning would have saved me a lot of money. And you're correct. And be careful with your packaging, starting small. I mean, I love our packaging, but we will continue to refine that till I get to an absolutely perfect spot. And I jumped in only because the cost per, the cost per packaging, and our labor here is expensive. We're in California. And I don't mind our labor being expensive. Actually, I'm very proud of what we pay our labor wages, but it also translates into a very high tea cost. And people are used to buying a box of 20 teas for $4.99 at Schnucks. And we just can't, unless I did large supplies, our tea would have probably been $25 a canister. So I started off with a little bit larger of a supply, but yeah. And sooner or later here, I'm just now, I would say within the past 3 weeks, looking into somebody as an investor.
Yeah, that's really great. And I just making a comment, I think it's great that, making sure that you're paying the people who are creating your product, living wages or higher wages, I think is really important. I very much admire and appreciate that. And it's also interesting to see how, startups using Bootstrap, using your own savings instead of getting investors. Because I feel like we're always hearing about, oh, you need investors, you need an investor. But what you don't really, sorry, I have an ice maker going off right now. But what you don't really hear is like, oh, you don't get to keep 100% of your company. You don't get to necessarily have that same freedom that you would have. And Sarah, you brought up the term bootstrapping. And I think was another participant was kind of wondering, you could expand upon bootstrapping and what did that kind of look like? Did you start saving exactly for your company? Did you already have funds? So what did that look like?
Well,
so I didn't save particularly for the company. I kind of started the company on a whim and I didn't think the idea would be viable, but it seemed like it could be. But I had funds set aside just for savings, and I really didn't invest that much in the beginning. I only invested $2,000 into like very basic stuff. And then from the sales, I was just able to reinvest that in. So if I had an investor from the beginning, or even like a small friends and family round, where it was like, as low as $30,000 or something, it would have just enabled me to progress faster. But again, I kind of just wanted to take my time with it and really not be beholden to anyone else with their money. For some reason, I have this, I have I feel a great responsibility when I take other people's money. I think some people are just wired differently. Like they're perfectly fine accepting other money, and like if they lose it all, and that's the risk that the investor takes, and both parties know that. But for me, I just want to like make sure that I'm going to be using that money wisely. And I wasn't exactly confident that like where I was going to head with the business when I first started. So
I would say for me, I just had some savings set up. I put in about 40,000 for our first run. Well, let's say this. I was planning on putting in about 40,000 for our first run. I think we ended up putting in about 60 all in, but once again, there was a lot of learning curves, trademarks and copyright. We had a lot at the very beginning for startup costs that we wanted to get. And I'm the exact same way as far as I didn't want to be beholden to anyone. I've always started my own companies with my money. My first company I started when I was 21 on credit cards, and everybody here is probably too young to remember, but Famous Bar used to be out there as a department store, and I had a Famous Bar credit card, which I took to the limit. And so I've always been self-funded. And with this, even thinking about taking on an investor has been it's been a 2-year process where I thought I'm not going to do it. There's just no way. And we've been approached by a few different people. But I've been listening to some podcasts lately of some people that have been really successful in the business and successful in growing quickly. And I feel like now that we've got proof of concept and we know that we can sell our product, I would like to just maybe move it a little bit quicker than we are. I feel like at this pace, I'll be selling tea for the next 25 years, canister by canister, $5 by $5. And that's not really what I'm looking for. So that's primarily the one and only reason why I've even started considering bringing somebody else in, because I do like 100% ownership, and I do like being able to make all the decisions. And you're exactly correct in the fact that in the same way, if somebody's giving me their money, now I've got not only the stress that I put on my own self to make sure that this is successful, but someone else in the background knowing that I'm playing with their funds also is
Yeah,
a little bit more stress than
it is.
you want.
And I'm kind of with you, Sharon. Like, once you reach the point where it's like, okay, I've got proof of concept here, that it seems like a great time to take on capital, because then it's just about scaling and scaling quickly. And it is somewhat better. It can be better to scale faster than to like constantly just reinvest little by little once you have that proof of concept. So then the point is determining like when you've proved out that concept, when enough sales to really make to where you're really like, okay, yes, this concept is proven and I can scale it. And I think entrepreneurs know that by how many investors are approaching them. And when they see your financials, how many investors are still there.
I would also say to that, to make sure that if you decide you are going to take on an investor, to make sure that they're bringing more to the table than just money, because usually you need a little bit of help along the way. When I'm looking for what I'm looking for in an investor is not just someone that says, here, let me give you 40,000 and I want this portion of your company, because honestly for us, that's not anything that I'm looking at. Like, I could get my own 40,000. I mean, we're selling tea as we go along. But for me, it's more important to get somebody who just knows the business and knows how to scale quickly. And the only reason why I'd even consider the money portion is because I feel like if they do have an investment, then they're going to be there with me working as hard as I am to, make sure that it's successful.
That's great. Thank you both so much. We have a question in the chat asking about what support entities you've used in kind of that process.
I use BioGenerator, which is a local organization that supports a lot of like biotech companies, but for some reason they supported Mighty Cricket. I'm not quite sure where I fit into that, but I guess they have or had a CPG arm, which stands for Consumer Packaged Goods. And so Mighty Cricket fit into that. And then trying to think of what other support I've received. AB Mauri is a yeast manufacturer here in St. Louis, and they developed some formulas for me for cricket bread, but I haven't used that formula yet. Yeah, that's all I can think of right now.
I have met a couple people in the business. There's a tea miller, a very small tea miller out in South Carolina that was very knowledgeable. And truthfully, when I talk with anyone, especially in the tea business, I always tell them I'm brand new. I pretty much don't know anything of what I'm doing. So any kind of input they can give me is always 100% appreciated. And he baby stepped me at the very beginning just through getting to our mill size. We had our production facility in Pennsylvania. They helped us source our biodegradable pyramid bags that we use with our tea. So I would say those are the two main sources that I use to just even start the concept from drinking tea to making it, producing it, packaging it, milling it, getting it all together.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. And we have so many questions from the audience. Wish you had more time to get to it. But I think the last question, because both of you, like you said, you have new products. Not a lot of people know about them. And what are some of the digital or print strategies that you use to really get out your message and educate people? How have you gone about that?
So my strategy is to really play down the cricket and play up the fact that it's just really good tasting product that's healthy. So my brand name is Mighty Cricket, and I have a cricket in the logo. But a lot of people who see my packaging don't even know that it's literal because they wouldn't even think that like a cricket could look so delicious in a bowl of oatmeal. I wonder if do I have screen share capabilities? Yes, I do.
Okay, great,
I
awesome.
think so. So I'll show you my packaging, what it looks like. And that's my strategy. And then we're always talking about living mighty and how you can, how you can do small but mighty things. So the cricket really represents, okay. One participant can share a time, screen share. Here we go. The cricket really represents like a small little guy who's doing mighty work. Okay, can you see my packaging?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, yeah. So you see beautiful bowls of oatmeal. You see that it's dairy free and gluten free and has these nutrition attributes, 10 grams of protein. And very prominent, Mighty Cricket right here. But like when you look at it, you're not thinking about the bug. And that's very key in getting this to go mainstream. And then there was one other tactic I use for marketing, but I can't remember what it is right now. So yeah.
For our marketing, I'm trying to get about 60% online. So right now I'm really focusing heavy on Amazon. I'm focusing heavy on our website, Facebook, Instagram, all the different places that we can market our products. And also food shows. Food shows was the bread and butter for the stores that we got into. I would say 75% of the stores that we have been in were just based on the food shows that we go to, and we put our products out there and show them what they taste like. We do samplings, and we've got a really good response from that. So
Sharon, which ones have you done? Natural Product Expo West?
No, we were going to, well, this last one obviously was canceled.
Yeah.
The next one we're getting ready to launch. That's why I'm here in California now. We're getting ready to launch an organic line. So we will be at the next Natural West show. I think it's next February or March. So by that time,
March. Yeah.
I've done San Francisco and New York.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't done any food shows because like the ones I was looking at were going to cost, like Natural Expo is going to be 10 grand by the time you buy the booth, which is 5 grand, and get your banners and all the shipping and airfare and hotels and stuff. And so I just don't have those type of resources right now. That's where kind of investors come in to play. It's
I will say that the food shows do offer pretty good specials if you're new. Your first year out, just make sure that everybody knows that you're like, if you would decide to do one, that it's your first year out. You get smaller spaces, but they put you in New Products, which New Products is probably one of the most visited areas of any of the conventions. So, and that small space is actually your friend, because you don't need everything then. You just have, they usually give you like a 6x8 area where you can, people just bring like folding tables and put their products up. And, it's a very, I can even send you some, if you email me separately, I can send you some pictures of some of the shows we've done. So I think they keep it somewhat reasonable. Cost of airfare is still there, the hotel's still there, all that fun stuff, but you don't really have to do the investment as you would buy the 10 by 10 corner $3,000 booth that, I'm trying to think of what our first booth was, but I think it was maybe $500. They really give you a pretty good, yeah.
Okay, that's not a Natural Expo West, but
that wasn't Natural Expo West. That was just a regular food show. But everybody that goes to Natural Expo West is, the conventions, the New York and San Francisco conventions that we've been to heavily trafficked. Plus you get a lot of press out of it, you know. I mean, there's,
Could you send me those
I will.
that you're talking about? Thank you. I appreciate that. And maybe in the future we can collaborate on Amazon, because Maggie has been tackling Amazon and I'm sure we could learn from each other.
Yes.
It's a beast.
Yeah. I know. The
Yeah.
one thing I will say is Amazon is the easiest thing in the world to use if you're a buyer. Just click. It's like magic. It's the best thing I've ever had in my life is Amazon. And the hardest thing is the back end and trying to set it up, and Amazon Prime, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah. But this is, a testament to how entrepreneurs kind of level up, is just like sharing each other's experiences and leaning on each other, especially sharing your probably your target market is very complementary to Mighty Cricket.
Yeah.
And very similar missions, but with the nutrition and all that. So we'll follow you on Instagram.
And we'll follow you back.
Okay, awesome. What is your Instagram handle? Is it just at
avocado
tea?
Yeah. Avocado, you can get to it, avocado tea or avocado leaf tea. Either way takes you there.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, love the networking going on here. I definitely would love. Amazon is a whole entire another thing. You don't realize until you're like, how do I get this to a warehouse? How do I do this? And it's just like a long list. And yeah, we'll definitely follow. But it's been really great having you both here and hearing about the marketing and how you started the business, and the business side of wellness and health, and especially also great having to we kind of what we wanted to call the event, Women in Wellness, WW. And so, yeah, it's been really great having you both here, Sharon and Sarah. I guess we'll say Avocado Tea Co. and Mighty Cricket, great businesses. And yeah, if there's any questions in the audience, last questions that anybody wants to ask, I would say speak now. Otherwise, it is past 5:30 and we said an hour. So just, wrapping things up. Okay.
If anyone does have any questions, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very responsive there.
Same here.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much to everybody who joined us today. It's been a great time. Oh, yes, and feel free to share the emails. And yeah, I don't know, Emmy, Renee, we've had a great time hosting this.
Yes, like Maggie said, thank you everybody so much for coming out today, and thank you again to Sharon and Sarah. You guys have been absolutely great. It's been a super informative hour, so just thank you for taking the time to come and speak with us.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Okay, cool. All right, Jessica, I don't know if you take it away from here. I don't know the end of this now.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to our panelists and to Maggie and Emmy for moderating. This has been great. We have more upcoming events. We're doing this almost every single Wednesday. Our next one will be on Wednesday, July 14th. So please join us for our next panel. Have a great week, and